Hello you, welcome to Geekism and welcome to this Q&A video to celebrate 40,000 subscribers. I know what you're thinking, you're looking at that number, it says 45,000. It took me a while to get the video done, alright? But when we were approaching 40k, I asked 4 questions on the YouTube community tab and our Discord, and lots of you got back in touch with things you'd like to know about myself, the channel, YouTube in general, and a whole host of things, so we're just going to dive in and answer some of them for a bit of fun. Oof says, what inspired you to begin your YouTube channel? I've talked about this on the channel a few times actually, but the reason was I wanted to make content that I wanted to watch, basically. YouTube always says in its training programs and all that sort of stuff that you should bear in mind that your audience isn't you, but for me it was. I was looking for simulation creative type gaming and videos that weren't like, hey guys, wacky crazy, and you know, there's some really great ones out there, you know, people I still watch now and would consider, you know, almost friends I guess in some ways, and then obviously there's bigger guys as well like Biffa, Avak, all those that I enjoy watching, but there's still, I think personally, quite a market for older people. I know we have younger people watch as well and that's fantastic, but maybe more mature people who don't necessarily want all the craziness of YouTube and just want to see some sort of fun and thought through gameplay a little, and that's kind of what I've always tried to do with Geekism. Similarly, the Giz asks, what do you hope to ultimately accomplish with Geekism? And world domination, I think, but more realistically, just to be comfortable and provide for my family, pretty much. They always say that you shouldn't get into YouTube if you want to earn money. You should do it because you love it, and then maybe you'll make money. And I don't really think the two are mutually exclusive. I think you can want to earn money and do something for the love of it at the same time. And that very much was the thing with Geekism. I set it up and found quite quickly that I really enjoyed editing and making videos and sharing videos and doing all the backstagey stuff as well, the titles and the descriptions and the thumbnails and all the YouTube algorithm and everything. But the plan always was to be able to monetize it and to be able to make a way that I can eventually, you know, support my family. I didn't do very well in school. I don't get on very well with being employed. I'm not very good at having a boss, so there was never really a way for me to make something of myself, and this I found was a really great way to do it, and luckily it's grown, and you folks have been really supportive and been able to help me achieve that. Because Racecar says, will you be doing your own version of the Bro Nation trip at Canada's Wonderland? For those who don't know, I'm moving to Canada in a few weeks, and Canada's Wonderland is a big theme park that's going to be relatively near where I move to. It sounds like a good idea. I'm planning to go very quickly. I'm also going to the Bro Nation trip, which is in Cedar Point. But yeah, eventually, yeah, we could definitely look at doing a trip there. Dabine has put Twitch or YouTube. I like both, and I think most content creators these days need to do both. I've had to take a back step from Twitch at the moment purely because I don't have the time. The big difference with Twitch is you have to be there, you know, and you have to be putting the hours in. And I'm talking like 6, 7, 8 hours a day, really. If you really want to see results and you really want to start building a community over there, you've got to be putting those hours in, and unfortunately that doesn't fit with my lifestyle. I'm a stay-at-home dad. I can get Geekism stuff done for YouTube recorded. I can do 2 or 3 videos in a night once the baby's gone to sleep, or I can do 2 or 3 videos on a Friday when he's in nursery. That's great. I can schedule them up. It works really well for myself and my family. Twitch, unfortunately, I just don't have the hours in the day. Hope if that changes in the future, you know, Xander goes off to school full-time or whatever, I'm definitely going to relook at it again because I love the interaction that you get with Twitch that you don't really get with the pre-recorded stuff of YouTube. Do you have any collaborations planned with other YouTubers for multiplayer games? Jack Frost asked this. Well, at the time, we hadn't started Uzuri Gardens, but now Uzuri is well into episode 7 or 8 now, I think, with Mass Bandit, a fantastic creator who, again, really sort of, you know, follows my sort of vibe of what videos should be on YouTube. Check it out if you haven't already. It's a great series. Really love the collaboration, love working with somebody, bouncing ideas off somebody. It really gets the creative juices flowing. Matt Ross Cam says, what's the deal with airline food? I actually quite like airline food. I quite enjoy it. I love flying. I'm a big fan of flying. I love all of it. I love getting the movie on with your little headphones. I love the food. I love the people at the front doing the exits here. I love the whole experience of flying. I always have done. The only bad airline food I ever had was one of our trips to Canada. We fly quite budget usually because we were going back and forth a lot with paperwork and stuff. So we were on a budget flight, and the food was just like a Subway, like a 6-inch sub type thing. And they pulled them all out, and they warmed them all up or whatever, and wheeled them out. And the second they started to wheel them down the aisle, we hit some major turbulence, and obviously everything had to go shut down. We had to go and strap ourselves in or whatever, and this turbulence lasted for about an hour and a half, and these sandwiches just sat there in these plastic bags, just sweating out in the sort of, you know, the warmer thing. And about an hour and a half later, they came and put these things, and I swear to God, mine winked at me. It was just a warm, sweaty Subway sandwich. Whoa. The Real asks what your favourite item or thing that you've ever built in Planet Coaster. It's a weird one, actually. I bet a lot of people wouldn't guess this, but I loved the huge birthday cake I did for Planet Coaster's first birthday. Probably a lot of you won't have even seen it, but for their first anniversary, I built a big cake with all rides going around it and stuff, and it's probably the most fantastical, crazy thing I've ever built, but I had so much fun doing it, and it was so out of my comfort zone that I really enjoyed it. Can you rap? Wow, funny you should ask. No, I really can't. What's your favourite game you've ever played? Nothing like what we cover on Geekism. My favourite game of all time is Ocarina of Time. Just encapsulates my childhood. A lot of questions about Canada. I'm going to address those in a separate video because we're going to be vlogging the move to Canada, but thanks all for thinking about that and how you want to, you know, and interesting in it as well. What part of Pinewood are you most proud of? Asked Luke Nelson. The redo of the entrance area from the vintage pack. I'm really happy with that. What's your favourite thing to do outside of make videos and family time? I love going to the cinema. I often go to the cinema on my own because my wife isn't really a fan of the cinema or movies in general, to be honest with you. She's got about 6 films that she's ever watched and continues to watch them on a loop. So I'll sometimes go to the cinema on an afternoon if I'm free. Can't wait till Xander's old enough to start going because I love kids' films as well. I love Pixar and Disney and all that sort of stuff. And I love going to theme parks as well when I can. Here's a good one from Zoe. How much have you spent on games/DLCs/add-ons for the channel? I have absolutely no idea, but I will say this. For about the last year, I haven't had to really buy games. I've been in a very fortunate position that the channel has got enough numbers behind it to garner the game developers providing the key as a form of advertisement for them. So for the most part, isn't very often that I purchase games now. Some of the big titles that I wouldn't really help, I guess, making videos, I still do purchase. The Sims, for instance, I'm not really on the Sims radar because I've only done a few videos, but luckily there'd be very generous community members who've purchased packs and stuff for me. So really these days I don't spend much on games at all. She also asks, in the best case scenario, how long will Geekism last? Well, the best case scenario is forever, I guess, but I'm very aware that it's something that a lot of people don't talk about, but Let's Play channels, or channels on YouTube in general, to be honest, they have a bit of a shelf life. I see a lot of big channels in my sort of niche that don't really they haven't really sort of carried on riding waves, and they've dropped down and still doing comfortable, but nowhere near the sort of heights they did. Especially Minecraft channels, I've noticed a lot of Minecraft channels, they really struggle to move on to another game from that. So something I'm always very aware around, and always trying to sort of, you know, keep up with newer titles and bring in new audiences and stuff like that. The long-term goal, to be honest, for Geekism, and whatever Geekism sort of 2.0 ends up being, is I would like to move actually from playing games into game development. I know it's a little bit cliche for a Let's Player to make their own game, but eventually that is the plan, is to move into development and make games ourselves, and have Geekism as a sort of umbrella brand that just sort of covers gaming in general, both producing content for it and making games itself. What countries have you visited, and which was your favourite? By Sparkman. Well, as you can probably guess, my favourite is Canada. Other than that, we've done the States a few times, and pretty much all of Europe, bar about 3 or 4 countries. My parents are massive England football followers, so pretty much my childhood holidays were being dragged around football grounds. I have no particular interest in football or soccer, but I have some really great memories of crazy trips to the Ukraine and Poland and all these sort of weird and wonderful countries that I would never have gone to if it wasn't for football. So in some ways I'm a big fan of football, I guess, but a lot of Europe and then some of Africa as well. But Canada is my love, and I can't wait to get over there and call it my home. Are there any theme parks on your bucket list that you plan to visit? A lot of the American ones that I'm going to be able to easily do, or do easier, I guess, than it currently is. So Cedar Point is a big one, and then just a lot of those sort of American sort of mid-tier budget parks. I'm really looking forward to doing. Big fan of Disney, to be honest. Love going over to there. We've done that a few times, and looking forward to doing that again with Xander. The one I really want to do, and we were going to try and do it last September, and it never really worked out, and that's the Efteling. So I'd love to try and look at doing that again in a few years, maybe sort of coincide a trip to visit family and then carry on into Europe and do a couple over there, hopefully. Captain Kokomo, who's recently started creating videos himself on YouTube, has asked, do you have any tips or tricks for building a viewer base? Yeah, loads, actually. And to be honest with you, the back of my head, there's always the idea of starting another channel that's sort of focused on helping Let's Players grow. Because while I'm still relatively small in the grand scheme of things, I've had pretty decent, solid growth and quite sort of expected and planned growth, I guess. And a lot of it's down to sort of studying YouTube and the back end of it. I really enjoy that kind of stuff. The main thing I will say is that a lot of people think that YouTube growth kind of does this, or this, or this, or this, or this. It really doesn't. YouTube growth does this, and you sort of step up, and each of these steps for a Let's Player is pretty much exclusively a new game or DLC or content for a game that you're known for playing. So if you're brand new to YouTube and you put your first video out tomorrow, don't make it a Minecraft video, don't make it a Fortnite video, don't make it a Civ 6 or a Zelda Ocarina of Time. We just mentioned that video. Make it whatever's just come out, and just buy the game and play that game. Really, being on the ball with new stuff is kind of, personally, the only way you're going to get solid growth on YouTube. Now, don't get me wrong, you can grow from older games if you really go into the minutiae of them, you know. But for instance, Planet Coaster was my breakout game. I wouldn't recommend a new channel playing Planet Coaster now, because the search results are incredibly saturated from videos like a year or two ago that still do well in the algorithm. So my advice would be to hit the ground running with something new, find out what's coming soon that you're interested in, and play through with that. Also, if you are doing gaming, tutorials, hints and tips videos, they're really great because people are looking for them, people are searching for them. So again, Planet Coaster was my breakout game, especially things like pathing tips, how to use triggers. I was just finding stuff that people on Reddit and stuff were having trouble with, and I knocked out some videos about them, and that was a really sort of good sort of springboard for me. Sam Carpenter Music says, if you were to develop your dream sandbox game, what sort of features would it have? Now, I'm going to little hush-hush about this, because as I mentioned before, I am looking to eventually go into game development, and I have got that first game up here already. But I think the real thing that I would focus on is the ability to completely free-form objects, like Planet Coaster does with the y-axis, the gizmo, but have it work. But have, as much as possible, all of that stuff feed back into a simulation that Planet Coaster tries to do and does a little bit well. But if you look at something like Foundation, really great how the size of the buildings actually affect the number of people that can then use them and things like that. I think that's really important. So you can be all creative and everything, but that does something as other than just look good and actually feeds back into the sim. I'd also make sure it's got lots of random events and stuff like that so that YouTubers play it. Nice Groos, I think it's pronounced, apologies if it isn't, asks, who's your favourite other creative YouTuber? And I will honestly say Mass Bandit. I know that's probably sounds a bit cliche because I'm doing a collaboration with him currently, but the reason I approached him for a collaboration is because I genuinely enjoy his work. He's got the same sort of vibe as me, I think, and he doesn't take it all too seriously, and the whole sort of good enough thing is really me down to a T as well, to be honest. Caterpillar asks, what's the inspiration behind the name Geekism? That's a good question. It was formulated because I needed a name, and I didn't want the channel to be my name. I didn't want the channel to be something gaming. Although very briefly it was Geekism Gaming. I soon got rid of the gaming. I wanted something that was between 5 and 9 letters. I wanted it to have a Z sound in it. and I wanted it to look good on a t-shirt. Those are my requirements. A lot of those come from Maxis, who make the Sims. Will Wright has an idea behind naming things that is between 5 and 9 letters and has a z sound in it. That's it. Mr. Frick asks, what's your favourite flavour of ice cream? Cookie dough. Oddbox Entertainment asks, what was the first ever theme park that you visited? I'm pretty sure it was the American Adventure, which no longer exists. It was in the UK, and it was really quite sort of standard. The coaster, it had a boomerang coaster, it was that kind of park. And I got stung by a wasp. Isaac Larson asks, what's your coaster count? Not as impressive as I'd like, to be honest. 78. Living on a small island and without sort of taking holidays to go on coasters, it's pretty low, unfortunately. And the main sort of park trips I've done is Disney, which just doesn't have a particularly high coaster count in itself. So yeah, 78. Annoyingly, the wife is on 84 because she went to a couple of crappy UK parks that have got things like boomerangs and SLCs and stuff that I never went to as a kid, because we live really close to Alton Towers, so we kind of went to Alton Towers every year. So I've ridden the same roller coasters lots of times. But yeah, I'm hoping to get that into I think I'll probably hit 100 in the next month or two, because we've got Canada's Wonderland and Cedar Point. Morgan Carter says, do you believe in conspiracy theories? No. TK3D asks, do you ever think about moving away from simulation games into other genres? Yeah, I do, but you can't really on YouTube. To be honest with you, the way YouTube works, if you want to grow and you want to be successful, you need to kind of niche on your niche. You need to real boil down to your little sort of pet projects. So for me, my favourite genre of games now is sort of Sims and city builders and tycoons and stuff, so I'm more than happy to play those as Geekism. But yeah, one thing I find quite interesting is I quite enjoy the survival game occasionally, sort of survival crafting game, Astroneer, Subnautica, other ones we played over the years, and they never seem to do particularly well, and the Geekism has kind of really sort of shifted a little bit towards sort of more management titles, city builders and management, which is fine, but that isn't something I did, that's something the audience did. So yeah, maybe if I ever did branch out, it would probably be a separate channel, and it'd be something like Geekism Survival, where we just kind of cover those kind of games separate. But yeah, no, really, you have to kind of boil down, but we're never going to be Fortnite, we're never going to be Call of Duty. I'm just not interested in those kind of games. Titan Network asks, what are your biggest inspirations when coming up with creative ideas? All sorts of different things, to be honest with you. Other YouTubers, I watch a lot of other content as much as I can that's sort of within my remit. Really enjoy watching a lot, obviously, all the Planco players, although, sort of they're sort of calming down a little bit now and moving on to other games and stuff, but I used to consume so much Planet Coaster content. Google Images and Google Maps. I kind of live on Google Maps for theme parks, so be it Planet Coaster or Parkitect, pretty much, yeah, Google Maps of the parks. Most of them have the little man in the corner that you can drop down onto the path and look all around and stuff like that, and just taking real life buildings and trying to replicate them. And the same with other games as well, trying to replicate real life as best as you can is something that's really satisfying for me, and often you find yourself having problems that you've given yourself to solve, and they usually get the sort of creative juices going. So rather than just looking at a blank canvas and just throwing stuff down, say to yourself, I want to make X, Y, and Z, and then how do I sort of get to those points? And I find that works a lot better than just trying to be creative. Pretty Wild Things asks, how did you meet your wife? That's a good question. When I first moved to Liverpool from the Midlands, I pretty much would do anything for work. I would do anything where they would pay me, and a pub paid me to do a pub quiz. So I sat and read out a pub quiz once a week, and Nicola was in a team with her. It was with her dad and her sister. It was like their sort of weekly family meet up and stuff. They could chat about the week and stuff and play a quiz. They used to do quite well, actually. One week there must have been a question on Star Wars, because after the quiz we were chatting. I had a little wander around the tables afterwards to say hello to everyone, and we were chatting about Star Wars, and Nicola tried to convince me that the best Star Wars movie was Return of the Jedi, when we all know it's Empire Strikes Back. And we got chatting about it, and we ended up exchanging numbers, and I said, let's talk about this more over dinner. And the rest is history, I guess. 7 years later, married with a baby, and I still think the best Star Wars is Empire Strikes Back, and she is still wrong. That's it. Thank you so much for all your questions, and thank you so much for your continued support. I absolutely love every single one of you to bits. I will see you in the next one.